So with this, I'll say one thing. When things get tough, put on a clock in front of you. Have the stop clock run to a minute. And imagine what that minute means. But take that minute for yourself to reflect in figuring out how to overcome the challenges you face. And speaking of challenges, overcoming, and inspirations, I'm really thankful to introduce Latika. Latika is somebody that you know. She's been with Rocket for a very long time. She's a patient advocacy champion. She lives and breathes patient care and advocacy support, and her tremendous care for the community, her compassion, and her ability to relay what's important to the families, to us, so we can design a better clinical trial, so we can have a commercial launch success, where we can have patients have access to therapies where they really need it, and the challenges they know to overcome, is one of the reasons that we're really excited that, Latika, you're with us today, and you're gonna be hosting a community that is near and dear to our heart. Thank you for everything you do, and with this, off to you.
Thank you, Kinnari. Thank you so much, Kinnari. Every year at Rare Disease Day, I love hearing Kinnari speak, and I think today it was really impactful, and it really sets the stage for what we're going to be hearing today. We're going to hear some incredible stories. And before we get started, I wanted you all to imagine something. I want you to imagine your sister. If you don't have a sister, imagine you have a sister or a daughter, and she's 26 years old. And she's about to have a baby, and she's lived an incredible life so far, and she's got the world in her hands. She goes to the hospital, she has the baby, and a few days later, right when the baby is a newborn, she's starting to experience some shortness of breath. Her heart rate goes up. She knows something's wrong. She goes to the hospital, and physicians say, "You're having an anxiety attack. Go home. We're not giving you any drugs." And then she goes home, and things are not getting better, and her family sees it, and she goes to another hospital, and this time they tell her, "Oh, you've got a lung infection. We're going to put you on antibiotics." And she knows that something's really not right. She knows she doesn't have a lung infection. She calls another doctor. The other doctor comes, and 2 hospitals, 3 physicians later, she's admitted something's really wrong. And so there's a workup that's done, and a cardiomyopathy is diagnosed. Fast forward, she's 26 now. She's at age 33. She's told that she's in heart failure, and that she's going to get a heart transplant. Cardiomyopathy. And then her son turns 13. It's his 13th birthday. And all of a sudden, something's wrong with his heart. He's a healthy young boy in middle school, loves to play sports, all of a sudden is getting chest pains. And then they rush him to the hospital. And they said, "Oh, his ejection fraction is way too low. He's in heart failure." What? And so he's now put on the heart transplant list, and the physician finally says, "You guys should get genetically tested." They test the boy. He's got Danon disease. "Mom, maybe you should get tested too," only because she says, "I'm getting some of these same symptoms myself, and I've had a heart transplant." She's diagnosed with Danon disease. Took all of those years. Why? Why did it take so long? Because gene therapy clinical trial as an option was off the table. Standard of care was heart transplant and was put on all of these medications. If only they knew. Only they knew. It's too long. It's too long to wait. So you're going to hear about the story today. It moved me. I couldn't believe what I heard. And we hear about average of 7 years to get a diagnosis. This family got diagnosed years after getting a transplant mom, and only a year before a transplant for the son. So we're going to hear about their story, and we're also going to hear about the tough time that they've had, but they turned something really bad into something good. And I'm not going to give away what they've done, but it's amazing what they have done because they're helping countless people in the community. And that's how I came across them. And I called Mom and I said, Mom, I want you to come and I want you to share your story at Rare Disease Day if you're willing. So they're here with us today. Mom Brittany and son Micah, they're incredible. And then you're also going to hear from two amazing Danon warriors in the community. I don't know what the community would do without Amy and Jenny, who have co-founded the Danon Disease Foundation, and also Kim, who's not here with us today. The support that they give, every newly diagnosed family that calls me, I send them their way. And these families have never met anybody who has Danon disease, never even heard of it. They rely on Google, which is not always accurate, and it's very scary. And these two ladies, they get on the phone with all of these new families and they provide the support, and it's incredible. So they're gonna come and they're gonna share their very personal journeys with Danon disease and their reason why they do what they do every day. So first, I'd like to welcome Brittany and Micah to the stage. Thank you, Brittany.
Absolutely.
And Brittany and Micah are here all the way from Texas. I know it's not all the way, but
It's all the way.
but
There's snow on your ground.
there's no. But thank you, Brittany. And the other thing I want to just mention to you guys that we are a very flexible company. If we have to go up and down the stage with our patients and families, we will do that. And we've got lots of nice volunteers to help us. So thank you, Brittany.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good morning. I need y'all to wake up so I can wake up. Did we switch over to that slide? As Latika so eloquently put it, there's a journey that I've been on, and my son joined me. It's not the type of journey you traditionally want to take your child on, but nonetheless, he's here. In order to catch you up with the time that we have, I'll take you through my journey very quickly, and I'll come back and we'll talk about it a little bit.
Do you truly remember that feeling of when they sat that baby in your arms? Is that not the most incredible feeling ever? On September 12th, 2010, they handed me my greatest blessing. He was 2 pounds, and I call him Micah. But with my greatest blessing, they also handed me my greatest curse. Peripartum cardiomyopathy, an unexplained weakening of the heart muscle due to pregnancy.
So 2 years later, it's now 2012, Micah's 2, he's doing very, very well. All of a sudden, it felt like someone tased me, and then everything went black. I died and been shocked back. So over the course of 3 years, I died 7 times. And then finally my doctor came in and he said, Brittany, you're gonna need a heart transplant.
One morning, I'm getting Micah ready for school, but I was so frustrated with him. So I dropped him off at school, and then I went to the hospital because I had a checkup. And during that checkup, they said, we have to keep you. And I said, okay. So a couple of days, it'll be fine. They said, no, we're gonna keep you until you get a transplant. Imagine, as a child, your mom being really mad at you, and then you don't see her for 9 months. I wait in the hospital, I miss kindergarten graduation, I miss swimming lessons all summer, I miss sleepovers and play dates, I miss the first day of first grade. My son was 7 and I'd been sick from the day he was born. What do you do when someone has lost their will to continue living? When they told me, Brittany, we have an organ for you. That's not what I heard. I heard, we are gonna take care of this for you so that you can get up and follow through. When my mom was told they found an organ for Brittany, it's not what she heard. She heard, you don't have to bury your only child.
I am excited because it is a new day. It is a new dawn, and Brittany has a new heart, and we are super, super excited.
When my son was told, Mommy's going to surgery, they found a heart for her, it's not what he heard. He heard, Mommy's gonna take you to swim with dolphins on your 8th birthday.
I realized that I could never, ever give up.
Look at us. Oh my God.
All right, Mike, I think you got it. If you could offer something to the person that you love most in the world, what would you offer them? Y'all gonna have to talk to me, it's before noon. If you could offer something to the person you love most in the world, what would you offer them? I'm sorry? Anything. That's, so I want a pony. Is that okay, right? Awesome. Anything, that's a fantastic answer. Health. Love. Time. Peace, happiness, hope, empathy. I love it. Why didn't anybody say money? What is wrong with you guys? We tell our kids, listen, you have to go to school and you have to be on time and you have to get good grades so that you can go to college and get a great job and make a whole lot of money. Yet nobody in this room would leave me any money. We have a serious conflict. Why don't we say money? Because in reality, it really doesn't matter, does it? It's not going to save lives. Not the way that hope or love or empathy will. Would our world look different if we were honest and stopped lying to our children? Instead of saying, go to school so you can make a whole lot of money. What if we were honest and said, I want you to go to school and I want you to get a great job so that you can make a whole lot of compassion? I want you to go to school and I want you to get a great job so that you can go to work and make a whole lot of hope. I want you to go to school and I want you to get a great job so that you can make more time. Would our world look different if our intentions for being great were different? I didn't want to offer anything exceptionally crazy to my son. I wanted to offer him answers. Why is mommy so sick? Why can't mommy go to the water park with me? Why can't she go on the field trip with us and all the other mommies can? But I didn't have those answers because I had a diagnosis of exclusion in peripartum cardiomyopathy. So, not being able to offer my son answers, especially when it was time to answer questions about why he was sick, was one of the most debilitating things ever. And he had lived a healthy life. I was the sick one. So when the tables turned, the world turned too. Let's go to that next slide, Mike. Nope, go back. You're right. You were right. Go back. Right there.
On September 12th, 2010, they handed me my greatest blessing. He was 2 pounds. And I called him Micah. But with my greatest blessing, they also handed me my greatest curse. Peripartum cardiomyopathy, an unexplained weakening of the heart muscle due to pregnancy.
Are you ready to get dressed? Yeah? Where you going to wear today?
Mikey, tell Mama, how old are you? 1. Very good. Good boy. Good. Now, why is Mommy in the hospital? Because I need a what?
Because you need a new heart.
That's right. So. Oh, but I don't anymore, right?
Yes.
What do I have now?
Your back.
Just my regular back because Mommy got a
New heart.
I can give. See, I can do that. That's illegal. That's illegal, baby. What?
I'm asking you, what is the hardest part about waiting for a heart transplant?
The hardest part about waiting for a heart transplant is just waiting anxiously, just waiting for someone or something to happen, and you never know what's going to happen. You might pass out the next day, you might get shocked, you never know. And sometimes I'm just anxious, but I never really think about that things because I have family. Mostly my video games keep me distracted a lot. But the hardest part, I'd say, about everything is just waiting there.
While waiting there, just waiting there, Micah asked, next slide, Mike, for one thing. He went to his pacemaker surgery and he went to his pacemaker surgery, he came out, everything was great. And they came around, we're on the cardiac ICU floor, and they said, hey, Mom, there's a caregiver meeting on the 3rd floor. Do you want to go to the caregiver meeting? And I said, are there cookies? And they said, yes, there are cookies. It's crumble. Would you like to go to the caregiver meeting? I said, yes, I will go twice, right? So I go to the caregiver meeting. I come back from the caregiver meeting, and Micah's sitting on the side of his bed, pacemaker freshly in, and I said, where do you think you're going? He said, well, it's time for my meeting, right? I said, well, your meeting for what? He said, well, I'm the one that's sick. Shouldn't I have a meeting? I said, oh, yeah, that's a great point. I'm sure there is some type of support group, for teenagers that are getting ready for a transplant. Let me check and see. So we looked around, we got online, we reached out to our online community, we reached out to transplant community, we reached out to UNOS and all of the other transplant entities. And they said, there are a whole lot of pediatric support groups that do like play dates for little kids, like 5 to 11. And then there's a lot of support for adults, but there's actually not a peer support group for teenagers navigating the transplant experience. So I went back and I said to Micah, I said, I'm sorry, dude. Unfortunately, there's not a meeting for you. There's not a group for you. There's not a community for you. And he said, well, other teenagers are going through this, right? And I said, yeah, they are. But unfortunately, there's just not a community for it. And he said, well, I guess we better make one. In the middle of my crumble cookie, I was like, hold on a minute. And he said, yeah, Mom, because if I am looking for community, I think other people are looking for community too. He specifically asked for one thing. He said, I just need, well, I'll let Micah tell you what he needed. Ladies and gentlemen, Micah Claiborne. Come on. Speak slowly and clearly.
Speak slowly and clearly?
Slowly and clearly.
I don't feel like speaking. Okay. Wow. What a journey. After that, we need space to heal. Space to heal might, to you guys, mean, oh yeah, just backing off a little bit. But to me, it means something else completely different. Let me break it down. Number 1, the S means seen. This means being recognized, valued, and heard for who I truly am. My journey matters. Mike, next slide. Prepared. This means having the tools, knowledge, and confidence to navigate my health and my future. Adaptable. This means teaching me to learn from every trial and change course, but not to commit. Not commit, yeah. Connected. This means being plugged into the network of people that believe in me and who I can believe in at any point in my journey and beyond. There you go, Mike. Empowered. This means having the courage to advocate for myself and take charge of my life in spite of my medical condition. I am not a Danon's patient. I am Micah Claiborne. I am 14, a 2-time best-selling author, a heart transplant recipient, the founder of Transplant Teens. I love football, wrestling, and video games. Oh yeah, and I have Danon's disease. But people like you are giving me space to heal. Thank you.
You good? Mike, you're taking too long. That's what he asked for, space. Mom, God, there's doctors all over the place. There's medicines being pushed down my throat. Oh, hey, look in my bag. Get your transplant meds out. It's time. I just need space. And when we defined what that meant for him in a way, not only that he could understand, but that other teens could understand, he created Transplant Teens. So let me catch you up on a little bit of my journey. I go through my heart transplant in January of 2018. In December of 2018, I say to myself, self, you're amazing. You should take yourself on a trip, right? Yes. See, I like them. So I say, I'm gonna go to my doctor. He's gonna tell me that this heart looks beautiful and I'm gonna get to go on the trip to celebrate the fact that I've survived. I go to the doctor and he tells me, Brittany, the heart looks amazing. And I say, fantastic, can I go on a trip? He says, no, you have stage 4 cancer. You have 300 cancerous lesions between your liver and your spleen. It's called post-transplant lympholymphatic disorder. You have PTLD. You have to start chemo and radiation immediately. So I go through chemo and I go through radiation. But before that, the question that he asked me, he said, before we start this process, is there anything you need? Do you have any questions? I said, I need the number to a really good psychologist because I need someone to help me process all the deaths that I've died, the death that is currently before me, and if I survive, how to live again. He said, there's nobody that specializes in it, just find somebody, it's fine. And I said, no, I need somebody. I don't want somebody sitting across from me saying, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I need someone sitting across from me that says, I know how you feel. I'm stubborn, okay? So I went home and I looked for this person that didn't exist. So I applied for my doctoral psychology degree. So now I study, or I have a doctorate in psychology with a combination of grief and DBT, and we use it to make or to teach or to administer critical illness psychology. Now, in the process of that, one of the things that I found out was we have words that we use commonly, but we don't know what they mean to other people. We all understand and have felt hope, right? Right? We all understand and have felt hopelessness, right? But what hope means to me and what hope means to you are completely different things, right? And that's where the miscommunication in humanity is. The miscommunication is we say these words and we expect for it to mean the same thing to everyone, and it does not. For me, hope means one thing. For you, hope means another. So a part of my doctoral work is I'll have my clients sit down and we define who they are based on how they define these words. So I have a hope equation. We call them me equations. It stands for my mentality now and the evolution because it leaves room for us to grow and change, right? So I can tell you that my hope equation, for me to have hope, my hope equation is vulnerability plus patience multiplied by humanity. I'm vulnerable enough to tell you what I need. I am patient enough to wait for the process, and I trust that the power of humanity will restore the thing that I'm hoping for. Does that make sense? So I want you to take 30 seconds because what you do, whatever you do, I don't care what your title is, whatever you do, the goal of what you do is to bring hope. But do you even know what that means to you? So I want you to take 30 seconds and I want you to write down your personal hope equation. What does hope mean to you? I don't have a timer up here. I'm not even going to try to do what you did. That was fantastic. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. I want you to write down your own hope equation. What is hope to me? Is it love plus trust minus shame? What is hope to me? How do we define that? How do I define that?
Mom, how did you even get your hope equation? What made you think of how? What made you think of, how did you even get that?
We'll talk about it later. Did you take your medicine?
Yes.
Okay. Mike, let's go to that next slide while they're working on that. Once you get your hope equation, feel free to scan the QR code to, I think it takes you to our Instagram or something like that, and you can follow our journey as we continue to heal. Let's go to that last slide, Mike. As of right now, there's a transplant team, at least one, in every one of these states on the map that are denoted. So we have about 32 transplant teams right now, and we are just trying to encourage some hope. I'll end with this. There was a scientist that did a study a while back, and he said, I'm going to see if I can measure hope. I'm going to see if it's quantifiable. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to take these mice, and I'm going to put them in water. I'm going to let them swim. Once they begin to sink, I'm going to take them out. And then I'm going to put them back in the water and see if they swim longer because they have hope that I'm coming to save them. Does that make sense? Okay. So he puts the mice in the water. They swim for about 15 minutes, and then they start to drown. So he takes them out. He dries them off. I think it was a funded study, so he probably gave them like Whole Food cheese or something. You know, they had some money. And then he said, okay, I'm going to put them back in, and I'm going to see what happens. So he puts them back in the water, and they begin to swim again. Now, if you know the outcome of this study, please don't answer. But if you do not know the outcome of this study, tell me how long you think they swim the second time. How long? 30 minutes, so double the time. What else? 3 hours. Give me Price is Right style. Okay? Somebody, yes, 10 minutes? 10 minutes, okay. 11 minutes, okay, somebody's getting smart. 11 minutes and 32 seconds, right? Awesome. Anything longer than 3 hours? I think that was the longest I heard. Anything longer than 3 hours? Nope, we're gonna stay there. Anything shorter than 11 minutes? No, okay. They swam for 60 hours. They swam for 60 hours. That is 240 times the amount of hope that they had before they knew that someone was working on their behalf to keep them afloat. So what you do, whatever you do for Rocket Pharmaceuticals, however you show up, I want you to know that you are bringing 240 times more joy, 240 times more hope, 240 times more moments, 240 times the opportunity for us to live the life that we were meant to live just because you showed up. Thank you so much.
You guys, let's give it up for Micah. He's in 8th grade. This young man is in 8th grade, and he just got up in front of all of you here in the audience and everybody online and did an amazing job. And Brittany, you are so inspiring. I love hearing your story. I don't think I'll ever get tired of it. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Amy and Jenny, the co-founders of the Danon Disease Foundation, a foundation who Rocket has been working with for the past 5 years. And then a few years before that, before they became an official organization. And so I call them angels. And so thank you, Amy and Jenny, for sharing your story.
Well, thanks for having us. That's a pretty tough act to follow. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I guess just to start off, for those of you that don't know me or Amy, we started the Danon Foundation about 5, almost 6 years ago. 2019. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, and then Amy will introduce herself. But back in the day, I'm not going to age myself, but back in the day, I was starting a family, and I was a little bit older. And so my providers told me that I was going to have a geriatric pregnancy. And for those of you that don't know what the definition is, it's if you're 35 years or older. So just to put it into context, which we really need to rename that for all of the people that are marketing out there or working in the field. So went through that process, and my story is about access. I had genetic testing. I had great access to care, and I found out I'm a carrier of Danon disease. Asymptomatic, didn't know what to do with myself. I Googled it, which was my first mistake. And the first thing I found was an article that said you should be dead because you're 34 years old, and that's the median age of a female who has Danon disease. And I said, well, I've passed that mark, so now what? And I didn't know, and I said, all right, well, let me go follow what my genetic counselor told me to do, which was go see our cardiologist, figure out if you want testing for your kids. And I did all of that. And my cardiologist said, great, be on your way. Don't really know this disease, but maybe come back in, I don't know, a year, 2 years, whatever you want. Just let us know if you have symptoms. So what do symptoms sound like? The question they asked me is, do you get winded walking up the stairs? And the answer is always yes. Doesn't matter if you have Danon or not. If you walk up 2 flights of stairs, you're tired and you're winded. So I didn't know, but I read what Dr. Google said, and Dr. Google had a very, very, very bad prognosis for me. And I said, okay, whatever. My kid was fine. I was on my way, doing my job, whatever, put my head in the sand. And a couple of years later, I looked at my kid and I said, wow, I really want to be alive for you, and I don't know what's going to happen. And so I reached out to a few people in the community, and I got connected with Amy. And there's a colleague of mine who actually started a rare disease foundation at my last job. And I asked him, I said, should I do this? Because do we really need another rare disease foundation? And he said, it's a lot of work. I said, yeah, you're right. And then I put my head in the sand. And then I spoke with Amy and Kim again, and we were like, yeah, we've tried this, and we haven't done it. And I said, okay, let's do it. And I just, didn't think twice. I didn't overanalyze, which I always do. And I just said, let's just do it, and we'll see what happens. But what does this all mean? It means I had really good access to care. I now have a cardiologist that I see at a world-renowned institution in New York City. I had access to a geneticist for my daughter because I wanted to get her tested. And thankfully, she doesn't have Danon. But I was still in the process of making my family. And I had my second child, and lo and behold, she was born with a rare condition. Not Danon, just happens to be something else. And in that moment, I said, wow, I have really bad luck. What the heck? But what I found was that during that process of taking care of my little one, I said to myself, okay, well, I can do this. I know I can ask the right questions and whatnot, and I tried. But I actually realized throughout that process that I didn't always ask the right questions, or I didn't have all the answers, and it was very frustrating. And she ended up, she's fine, she's doing well, but what she had again was access. She had access to the best doctors in the country who knew her condition and took care of her when I didn't feel like I knew enough to do that. And so why do I tell you that story? Because it's not related to Danon. I tell you this because I'm very fortunate. I live in New Jersey. I have access to world-renowned care at CHOP for my daughter. I have my cardiologist in New York City, and I have access to geneticists and all of the care that I could want. And I hear stories that Brittany and Micah and how long it takes, and I just don't think. I sound like a child, but I just don't think it's fair. Why is that? And why is it that I can navigate, have insurance coverage, have access, and have just the best care, and other people take 7 years or more for a diagnosis? And that's really why we do the work that we do. I may be asymptomatic today, but I don't know. The best I can tell you, and from my standpoint as a female living with Danon, possibly, I don't know yet. And I'm well beyond geriatric at this point, but my cardiologist says, your ultrasound looked good, your MRI looks good, come back every 2 years. And every once in a while, you can ask Amy, I stand here and I say, my heart rate feels a little high today. I wonder if and she's like, you're just paranoid, or you're just aging, or something, right? But that uncertainty is what makes me do the work that I do with the foundation, because I don't want people to go through life, dealing with the rare disease of Danon or any rare disease or any condition, and saying, I don't know, or I don't know how to advocate, or I don't have enough information to make the best decisions about care that I need for me, myself, my family, whatever the case might be. So that's really why we started the foundation. We try to do the best that we can. And really one of the biggest things is when we started this thing back in 19, right before COVID. And that was interesting, to say the least. I think one of the things that we realized was that nobody really knew Danon back then. And thanks to the work that Rocket does, people like Brittany who are getting the word out, we see a lot more people in the community reaching out. And it's telling us something. It's saying there's an underdiagnosis and a lack of ability to really get the access that we need for people that could do better in terms of managing their own care and their options for treatments. And for the work that you guys are doing, we really appreciate it, because we know, to the point that Brittany made, there's hope in that. There's hope in therapies, and hopefully one day a cure. But.
And I'm Amy Atkinson. I'm from Utah,
Mike.
My story's different. My daughter was born in 2006. 2010, her pediatrician says she's got a heart murmur. She's 4. Rushed me to the Children's Hospital. We see a cardiologist. She's got hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. What does that mean? Nothing. It was a year and a half later when pediatrician says, what does cardiology say? I don't know, haven't been back. So then nope, let's go, we've got to go to cardiology. Get with a new cardiologist immediately. Genetic testing, she has an ICD placed. All of this before kindergarten, okay? Female, before kindergarten. Then I'm a mom. We put our head in the sand, we traveled, we did our thing. Everything she did was a natural child, you know. 2018, we did Disney World, you know. We've done cruises, we've done Disney World. She was a rock star, okay? June of 2018, she had a major stroke. Sorry. She had the stroke in my arms while I was doing her hair that morning. Sorry. I got her to Primary Children's, and we started talking transplant at that point. But we couldn't do transplant until we got her mentally ready. You know, we had to get her walking again, we had to get her talking again, we had to get her eating again. And, you know, the people at Primary Children's are amazing. They didn't like me that 2 weeks because I'm the mom that put a schedule on the wall, on the whiteboard, and told them when they could come into the rooms. You know, their time for doing rounds were from 7 in the morning till 9, and then she had physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech. And then I had to try and get lunch in there. Then I had to try and get, you know, she wanted to go to the playroom. Sorry, can't today, you know. Primary Children's is a teaching hospital. They wanted to bring people in. 11-year-old having a stroke, holy crap, you know. Everything got crazy. So I'm still well known at primaries for the mom who told the doctors what the schedule was. But you can, you know, as a parent, as a caregiver. That's what I'm trying to tell our parents and our patients and our, you know, we are still moms. We are still caregivers. We can tell them, you know. Delaney was on the transplant list 26 days when she got her gift of a new heart. So she got her gift of a new heart on September 20th of 2018. She didn't wake up from surgery. So on September 26th, we took her off life support. But, you know, she was 11 years old. She was going through puberty. Guess what? That's when the Danon starts. So for me, when Delaney had her stroke, she was the only person in Utah with Danon disease. Okay? That is when I found Kim in the Facebook group. And I found it through the HCM website. I was in panic mode. I needed someone to talk to me, you know, to where at least when we got from June to September, I had a support system. And that's where, after Delaney passed away, it took a year that I was talking to these guys, and I finally said, nope, it's time. I'm not gonna let someone else go through what we did, you know? We are gonna be here for the community, you know? We have words that we chose this year, and Danon disease is such a reactive disease. So our first word is proactive, you know? And how can we make our community proactive instead of reactive? Our goals are to be proactive, informed, and connected, you know? And as moms, as caregivers, that's what we're here for. Let's see, next slide. We offer our website, and then we do have a community Facebook group for our community. We have the QR code up there for the community. We do keep it, that one is our private group, but please visit our website. And anything?
Yeah. And I just want to say thank you so much to the Rocket team and all of you for taking the time, because I know when we were talking to Latika late last year, she said, I don't know, guys, there's a lot going on. We said, you have to have Rare Disease Day. This is our time to like talk about Danon, and we don't have an audience, and we don't, you know, it's hard when you're so tiny. And she's like, I'm gonna talk to the team. And so thank you guys for being here. I know this is a big, you know, a lot of effort goes into something like this, and we really appreciate, you know, having the airtime to share our story, but also, you know, just connecting with each of you, because I know the work that you guys are doing is not easy, and we know that, because otherwise we'd have more therapies out there. So we just want to say thank you, because there's a lot of work that we know that happens behind the scenes. So
I was going to say,
dreams meet the sky. There's a world full of colors where hope never goes away. Somewhere over the rainbow, I know I'll find you, in a place where dreams are real and love is in the air. Stars shine brighter when I think of you, and the rainbow guides me to where I want to live. Somewhere over the rainbow, I know I'll find you, in a place where dreams are real and love is in the air. The stars shine brighter when I think of you, and the rainbow guides me to where I want to live. Somewhere over the rainbow, I know I'll find you, in a place where dreams are real and love is in the air. Let me fly, let me dream, beyond the horizon where I want to be, with you by my side. Anything is possible, somewhere over the rainbow. Let me fly to the rainbow, I know I'll find you, in a place where dreams are real and love is in the air. Somewhere over the rainbow, our love will shine, and together we'll walk forever beyond the sea.
All right, so that video is really special. Amy actually created it from scratch, so thank you, Amy, for doing that. That's really talented. I wanted to say that, you know, if you look at all the faces on that video, I'm so privileged because I know almost every one of them. But I don't know if you've noticed when you were looking at the video, at the faces, how many African American families are affected with Danon in that video. Just Brittany and Micah. So when I contacted Brittany and I talked to her, I told her, you know, in my time at Rocket, like about almost 5 years now, I've talked to almost 250 families worldwide, almost every continent. And Brittany is the first African American. And I know that number is, you know, very low. I know that there's stigma in terms of getting tested and raising awareness of genetic testing. You heard how long it took Brittany to get diagnosed. She had a baby at 26, and she got diagnosed at
39.
39. That's way too long. And so I asked Brittany, I was like, Brittany, why is it that we don't have more families of color who are diagnosed with Danon disease? And you even know of a few families whom you suspect, but they haven't been tested. So Brittany, what are your thoughts? What do you say to this?
I think access is one big thing, one big obstacle, because it's not very, even for us, when Micah was diagnosed, initially, I don't think I told you this, they said, well, we really want to look at this in a genetic space. And one of the nurses came over and she's like, you guys probably don't have Danon's disease. They had another kid with Danon's and it's just on their mind right now. But you probably don't need that testing. But we went ahead with it because there was something going on. We knew that. So I think one of it is access. I think the other part of it is there is a mistrust, unfortunately, in the medical community amongst people of color. And when we hear the word testing or trial or anything like that, or rare disease, right? It becomes, it's something that we're very standoffish against because of the history of our country when it comes to diseases and the misjudgment or the misuse of people of color within healthcare systems.
Yeah, we got to do better. And we're really happy to connect with you and connect you also with our ladies from the Danon Foundation, because I think there's more we can do.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to ask Jenny and Amy, what do you see within the community as like the top issues why people are not getting familial testing? We talked about this. We talked a bit about, there's moms and grandmas and brothers and sisters who are experiencing symptoms, but they're not getting genetically tested.
Insurance. It's a scare, All of a sudden, you have a child. In our instance, luckily my husband has amazing insurance. We reached out for secondary insurance, and we were denied because of Delaney. If we take her off of our policy, yeah, we could get to insurance. We couldn't get health insurance because I had a child benefit. We had to remove her. We couldn't get whole life insurance because of a child benefit. Those are inadequacies that need to be taken care of.
And I know you personally are doing some things to help remove those barriers.
Yes, we are working through, we have a couple of bills in place, and we are working through Congress and Senate and working towards that.
Yeah. And my next question is for Micah. Micah, you won't believe it, but there are quite a few families online right now, and there are boys about your age. What advice would you have for them, given what you've just gone through?
Well, all I can really say is the journey might be rough, but your destiny's not over. Just because one bad thing happened doesn't mean that your life is over. It's just a new chapter of your life opening. And you could change it. You don't have to make it go the same way that it did, like I did, how I made transplant teens.
That's beautiful.
Very good, buddy. Very good.
I love that 8th graders can think like that. That's so beautiful.
He doesn't do his math, though, and I'm not sure. I don't do math. Can you guys fix that?
No.
Mom, it's called a calculator.
It's not. They ask Alexa for everything.
Oh, ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, literally.
Yes.
We only have time for one more question on the panel, and I wanted to actually just go to each one of you, if you don't mind. So a lot of people in this room are wonderful human beings. They work in the lab where they study Danon disease gene therapy. They work in the warehouse, and they organize all of the supplies in a very regulated fashion that's necessary for the labs and outside of that. There's people who work on the clinical trials. You've met a few of them today. And there's people who work in marketing, who they want to create videos and more awareness, broader awareness of the disease. And so to all of those people, they don't really get to hear from folks affected with Danon disease all that much. What words of hope do you have? Hope is a really nice theme that we heard from Brittany's talk. What words of hope would you give our team that's listening here today?
You want to go first?
Sure. Number one, y'all are great people. Number two, I would not be here if it weren't for y'all, so thank y'all. Number three, keep doing what you're doing, even if things do seem like they're failing. Keep going, because you never know how close you actually are to the goal that you are reaching for.
Who is your mom? You're
Oh my gosh, guys. Mom, you're doing something right.
I mean, I was going to bring him back to the place, but I'm going to keep this one. This is a good one.
What place?
I actually want to take my moment and ask that I would prefer to ask to see if anybody else has a question for us. Does anybody have a question for myself or Micah, or obviously one of these ladies, that the room could benefit from? No? Oh, sure. Oh. Awesome.
I'm curious how...
Oh.
Thank you. My name is Sally. I'm curious for Micah and Brittany how life has been after your transplant, and you talked a little bit about the cancer, but speak to what it's like afterwards.
After the transplant, Micah's done great. He was out of ICU in 36 hours asking for chicken nuggets. Someone randomly Venmo'd us online, and they DoorDash chicken nuggets. It was a whole thing. So for him, it's been amazing, and he has spent his time raising awareness after transplant. One of the things that we should have been tagging that we weren't is Danon's disease. We tagged a lot of transplant stuff, and with Transplant Teens, he jumped in and got about 30 million views just because people are very confused, or not confused, but curious about what the process looks like, just as you are. For me, transplant, to be super honest, was lonely. Because like we said, especially in the African American community or in the communities of color, it's very seldom that we talk about healthcare, and it's also very seldom that we step into therapies that are seen as risky or that are really just not widely accepted. There's a stigma in the African American community that people won't be saved because those organs will be used to save other people. So when people hear that I've had a transplant or that my son has had a transplant, it definitely brings up some questions. So the healing has been great, but it's also a great, in answering to the hope question, it also brings about hope because we are literally living, I want to say monuments, but we're literally living examples of what medicine can do if you actually trust it and lean into the type of work that you guys are doing. So that after transplant, hope is revived in a very, very unique way.
Thank you. Jenny and Amy?
So yes, Latika, I think, as I look at all of you, and thank you again for the work you do, for me, it's the fact that years ago when Amy and I first met, nobody knew about Danon. Everybody talked about the yogurt. And honestly, it was just very frustrating because it wasn't a legitimate disease. And nobody cared because there was nothing to do except manage your symptoms, manage your heart, get to transplant eventually, whatnot. I think that the work that you guys are all doing, and the fact that you guys are giving hope because there is a potential therapy out there, makes people come out of the woodwork. We've seen our community grow because people want something. They're waiting, right? And they're saying, wow, if there is if there is a therapy, I want it, and I want to get tested, or I want to know if I'm eligible. I want to know if I can, what's next? Are you gonna, have to make a plug for the females? Are you guys gonna go after the females? And so I think regardless of what department or function you're in, everything you guys are doing will impact our community, whether it's marketing and getting more disease education out there, whether it's manufacturing and the quality and what product you're actually putting into patients. Like, these things matter. And all of the work, whether you're raising your hand for Rare Disease Day to help raise awareness, it's all things that help our community. And that way we know more, and we can get people diagnosed, and we can manage their health, and they're empowered to know more about their own health and family issues or things that they need to be proactive in order to, live their best life, even if it is with Danon. So for me, the hope is, the future, therapies, opportunities to really tackle this stupid disease, I'm sorry to say. It's just, I need to expand my vocabulary, but it's just really, I have to say, that's where my hope lies. I think Amy and I have been watching this for the last couple of years, even just in the community, and every time we talk, we're like, wow, the Facebook group keeps growing because people are reaching out to us, or, we're getting emails. We just got one while we were sitting there from a woman, and, she wants to share her story. So we're excited that we're, getting more of a community, and we're really seeing people reach out and raise their hand or get tested or whatever. So that's where my hope lies.
Right. There's a lot more stories to be told, and that's what we're here for, is to tell the stories that everyone else is afraid to.
I love that.
So I think mine is excitement would be my best word. There's an excitement and a buzz in the air because of you guys. We couldn't have done it without Rocket, and you guys make the community excited. But let's bring on the females.
Okay, you heard it here.
So Micah just asked, and we're talking about females, he doesn't know how Danon affects males differently than females. Who wants to tackle that one?
I'm going to sit on my hands for
Everybody's like,
I'd
not
love
me.
to call Dr. Matt Coggins to stage. Matt?
Give it up for Matt. He's put on. So why just girls is what he's, or why?
What's the difference between girls and boys with Danon disease?
Why do girls get it later?
That's a great
question. So Danon is what's called an X-linked disease. You probably heard that term, or maybe not. So X-linked means it's the gene LAMP2 is located on the X chromosome, and the X chromosome is one that's unusual because males have one copy of it, and females, girls and women, have two copies of it. And so when you have an abnormality of the LAMP2 gene, which is basically the cause of Danon disease, right, the abnormal gene, meaning the abnormal sort of code in that sort of the blueprint of what makes the proteins in the cells, right? So when that's abnormal, the protein's abnormal, and the function that it's supposed to do doesn't get done as well. So that's what causes the disease. There's abnormal function, and particularly within the heart muscle cells. That's why the heart muscle is most severely affected, but also skeletal muscle too, and other organs. So when there is an abnormality in that gene, in women, a lot of the time, but not all the time, the other normal copy compensates for it. Now, that's not always the case, because in a lot of women, including your mom, that's, the disease may develop a little later, may manifest a little differently, but can be just as severe, leading to, even despite standard medical therapies, devices, et cetera, is still leading to the need for transplant. What's known is that boys are more commonly affected, meaning if you take the same number of males and females, there'd be more males who are affected. They're affected earlier. They tend to have more severe disease, but certainly women do get the disease. It's been more and more recognized. And so the question, when are females going to be part of the treatment? It's because that's more and more recognized that not only is there a clear population who may benefit from the treatment, but if if the trials that are ongoing prove to be safe and effective, there's a rationale for also potentially treating women.
All right, thank you.
Good question.
Very good.
Well, thank you very much to the Mama Bears on the stage, to Micah, to Matt Coggins. Matt Coggins is on my speed dial because I ask him a lot of questions from the community. And thank you very much for sharing your story. We are doing everything we can to move forward the options for Danon patients, and your stories really, really make a difference in our lives and motivate us. So thank you so much.